Amel cheese. Amel cheese.
In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or...
It is. Oh, come on, I know you can hear me.
I drink. Freedom is never more than one generation. The well-taught lessons of how they and children's children, what it once was like in America, when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Me too. I am BZ, otherwise known as the Bloke of the Year of our Lord 2020. And just remember, anything that occurs to you that's bad in 2020, you can just bring up any meme that has 4 letters on it, or four numbers on it, 2020. Right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am brought of the locus of evil on the entire left coast. The Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where, at the conclusion of the show, when I exit the plush, resplendent, and palatial SHR Media Studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur and brimstone from that evil emanating from downtown Sacramento. Be forewarned, what you're about to listen to for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion and my opinion only. Because of the fear porn that has infected this nation, the saloon is no longer open in the front, but in the back I am still serving stiff drinks, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense out the back door. And a reminder, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, science, economics, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. This is 2020, and I am done with bipartisanship and compromise. This is the new age of modern political warfare. Because make no mistake, now more than ever, we are at war for our souls and the soul of our nation. I really don't think it's any more complicated than that. In the chat room at SHR, welcome to Sergeant Booker, welcome to Mike, welcome to Simone, welcome to the Alaskan, and welcome to 4 viewers who I will not unmask in chat. And also for tonight, welcome to Melanie Colette. Melanie, how are you tonight, madame?
Hi, how are you? I'm doing well.
Mahalo, mele kaliki maka. Okay, everybody, in case you're not from California, now I know what mahalo means. Wait, can I do the thing with it? Okay, here we go. There's the Hawaiian thing. If you go to Hawaii, you have been to Hawaii, Melanie, I'm guessing?
I've never been to Hawaii.
You've never been to Hawaii. So
No.
you've never had the glory and the wonder and the spectaculariosity of being crushed into Hawaiian Airlines out of San Francisco in a thin aluminum tube where it's about 75 people across in just one row, and it's a cattle car from SFO to Hawaii for about 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it takes. And in the meantime, people start smelling and it's really hot and the air conditioning goes out. And then after a while, people go, that's how I went to Hawaii. Boy, that's great times.
I've never had the pleasure.
Great times, great times. And that I know that I could get away with this, and a checkbook that my starter wife went downtown Honolulu to what I didn't know at the time was the Gold Exchange on about the 10th floor of some building, and came back only when I was getting a divorce to discover that I was carrying a $30,000 debt from roughly $60,000 purchased of gold when I went on that trip. It's like, hey, welcome to the land of divorce, and here's your big ass bill. Now,
Oh, my God.
be an adult about it and get on out of here. Since we last spoke, Melanie, only a few things have happened. Not many, but just a couple. I'd like to take this time and point people to your show. Now, you have not had a show for a while. Is that correct?
It's true. I've been on hiatus. I'm planning a reboot. I'm getting some new things together, and I'm hoping to be back on the air very soon.
Okay. Tell people, because you can go to her website, moneytalkwithmelanie.com, moneytalkwithmelanie.com. And the reason I always like to talk to Melanie is because she's right here on the SHR Media Network, and she'll be back. So can you give folks who have your show, please?
Well, I'm an educator by trade. I teach economics and computer applications, things like that. And the show, Money Talk with Melanie, is a show about economics and politics, all combined into one. But it also teaches people about their civic responsibility as far as, like, example, why it's important to vote and things like that. But it's all combined into one thing: kitchen table economics, global economics, and things like that. So, but I always have a guest on the show. Hopefully, it's a very interesting guest, something that people are interested in. But
Melanie's being, I can't say coy, but she's being very humble right now. She has had some incredible quote from her show is, and this is why you need to listen when she comes back, because it's true. This is important because it's your money. And that's why you need to listen to her show. Now, in the meantime, a few things have occurred, just a few. I want to, before we get into the real buttery, juicy politics of all this stuff that's been going on, there was a story in the Bay Area, which means around here in California, I always spell it with a K. That's San Francisco, Oakland, the general Bay Area. Thoughts on this article? And what venue are you teaching? Young kids, older kids?
I teach high school, and I also teach college. Right now, mostly high school. And like I said, I'm teaching them economics and computer science.
Oh. High school. Oh, that's got to be tough.
It is, especially with, we're, of course, in the land of COVID right now. And so the school that I teach in, it teaches in a hybrid model. So meaning that I teach kids who are, half of my kids are online and the other half are in the classroom, and I teach them both at the same time.
God, that has got to be tough. Really tough.
It is.
Oh.
It is. The kids are like just not very engaged, and so it just makes it very, very difficult. And I get it, for the kids it's tough, but they really tend to not be very engaged, the ones that are on the computer, and then most of my kids are on the computer. So it's tough.
This story is from Eyewitness News in the Bay Area in California. 12-year-old boy threatened with arrest for missing 90 minutes of Zoom class. Bay Area dad says. The school principal says her administration had no choice but to send the letter given new state guidelines around virtual learning. I'm not making this stuff. This is from Lafayette, California. Folks, if you're not from California, always spell it with a K. Lafayette is a really wealthy area of the Bay Area of California. Northern California parent says a letter he received from his son's middle school threatening his overkill. Oh, and by the way, that's over a period of 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
Do you guys, now you are in and from New Jersey, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where your classes are being taught?
Yep, exactly. And no, we are always chasing kids down to attend their virtual classes, to attend class, period. I mean, there's some kids who don't show up to in-person school because we have the hybrid model. So they're like one half in person, half virtual, and we're always chasing kids to come to class. There's a part of me, as bad as that is from a teaching perspective, there's a part of me that wishes we could do that here in New Jersey because maybe kids would show up to class. But a lot of kids just don't show up, and it's important from I would imagine from a financial perspective and having to do with the recidivism rates and things like that. I wonder if that's why they chase these kids. That's why they're doing that in California, because you can't have them dropping out. If you have them dropping out, then the school loses money. And I'm not necessarily on the side of schools keeping kids because of money, but I'm sure that's part of the reason why they do that. But in New Jersey, they don't do that at all. You just chase the kids down. Sometimes we'll send our security officer out to kids' homes to see like what the deal is, why they haven't been showing up. But no, we're not. We don't threaten them with jail. But like I said, there's a part of me, as bad as that is, that kind of wishes that we would do that. Maybe kids wouldn't miss them at school. I mean, I have kids who I've only seen them, over the course of a marking period. I've only seen them maybe 5 times. Like it's really bad.
Folks, I'm talking to Melanie Colette. She has her own show here at SHR called Money Talk with Melanie. So she is well-versed in economics, and you would be well-served to go back into YouTube. Your stuff is archived on YouTube, is it not, Melanie?
My stuff is archived on YouTube, on Spreaker, Apple Tunes, Apple Podcasts is now what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Used to be called iTunes, but now it's Apple Podcasts. It's everywhere. You can find us.
You would be well served to go back to her archive on any of the places she just delineated and listen to some of her shows. She has great advice, great information, and she'll be coming back to SHR. Now, everything aside, COVID aside, teaching in 2019 or early 2020, high school kids had to be one of the greatest challenges in the history of the planet. Is it not?
It was already challenging, COVID aside. Exactly. COVID aside, it was already a pretty challenging, it's a pretty challenging vocation to be a teacher. And now that, what's ironic is it's actually a little bit easier with COVID because you have less kids, so you don't have the behavior problems that you used to have because there's less kids that are sitting in front of you in the classroom. But the bad part is that the reason why you don't have the same behavior problems is because the kids are not there. Like they'll turn their cameras on they're logged in and then turn their cameras off, and then they're not really there. You know, they're off making sandwiches or they're playing video games or whatever they're doing, and then when you call their names, they're just not there. It's really that's the bad part, and a lot of kids do that and are just not engaged. But yeah, teaching was pretty tough pre-COVID as it was. You have kids, the parents that are not very engaged, and the parents are still not engaged. And frankly, because of COVID, I was just talking to a friend about this tonight. She who has 2 teenage kids herself, and she's like, I'm struggling with the whole COVID thing myself. I'm over the whole COVID thing myself, and I know that my kids are too. It's like, it's hard for me to tell them to suck it up. I'm like, I'm barely sucking it up. And I totally get that. I'm over it too. I'm well over it too.
Folks, we're talking to Melanie Colette, Money Talk with Melanie, here on SHR. She'll be coming back to SHR in a bit, who is also a teacher. Someday, well, first let me ask you this question, Melanie, about how much longer do you see yourself teaching?
About a hot minute. I don't. I'm also a financial advisor on the side, and as soon as that picks up to the level that I wanted to pick up, I'm out of the classroom. I've never, and it's so funny, I'm tenured, but I tell people all the time that I never intended to retire from teaching. So that's never been my intent. I wanted to spend some time in the classroom. I really would like to work on some education policy at some point in my life, but right now I'm doing a little bit of everything. But I've never intended to retire as a teacher.
So I'm throwing this out in the ozone, Melanie. When you retire, just like cops, guaranteed, just like cops, I bet you have some incredible teaching stories about what really occurs in the classroom with their loving children and the parents. And when that day comes around, I want to talk to you.
Yeah, so the name of the book that I've been working on for some time now, slowly but surely, is called The Angry Educator. And
Perfect.
And that is going to be filled with stories about the real deal with what goes on in education, particularly from a conservative perspective.
Okay, and that's another reason that I have you on the show. You're a conservative. You've been a Republican for quite some time. I believe that you voted for President Trump.
I did.
Okay. And that's another unique perspective. I want to get into the whole election thingy, and maybe if we have time, maybe a little bit about COVID. But in terms of looking at the election right now, I find one thing really 15 GOP women are newly elected to the House. 6 of those seats in the House were switched from Demorat to Republican, and even some of those occurred in California. Always spells. Melanie, is this a trend, do you think?
I hope that it's a trend. I certainly hope that it is a trend. If it's not a trend, it needs to be one. And people don't mention, like you said, what happened about the presidential election is such a mess. People are kind of ignoring what has happened in the House, but I think it's a big signal, and Nancy Pelosi has been put on notice that things hopefully are changing in this country. It's amazing that we had so many seats flip, and at the same time, President Trump seems to have lost this election. We'll see what happens. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
No, that's very true. Al Gore back in 2000 had 37 days before he conceded. He did not concede until December, late December. Apparently, That's okay for him. For President Trump to not concede is bad. One of the reasons I had you here tonight is to ask you about your education and also to make sure that we let people know about your show. And because it's important to leftists, because their world is all about sex and race, race and sex, and identity politics, this race, it seems to me more than any other, well, except perhaps for 2016, has attempted to pigeonhole people as much as humanly possible. So the only reason that I bring identity politics up is because it's so damn important to leftists to make various distinctions. There was an article that just came out. Young Turks contributor blames ignorant white men and Latino toxic masculinity for any kind of Trump support at all. This gal named Ada Rodriguez condemned sexism in Latino communities and, quote, ignorant white people that are poor and struggling, who were excited about the outrageous, egregious behavior of Donald Trump for him beating analyst expectations as more election results come in. So because you voted for Donald Trump on the left side. So what was different, do you think, this time around in 2020, voting for President Trump than, say, 2016?
I think that one of the things that was different is that he actually made a concerted effort to reach out to African Americans and to people of color. And that is different from, let me be frank, than what the Republican Party has done in the past.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things that I've really admired about President Trump, that he actually, he has this organization called Black Voices for Trump, where he made a concerted effort and said, I'm targeting African American. Instead of ignoring our vote, he actually reached out to us. And that's something that the Republican Party had been lacking in the past. And I think that him reaching out to African Americans has been quite fruitful, to be honest. Even though I voted for him before, one of the things that, and when I first voted for him, I wasn't a big fan. The first time I voted for him, I really was voting against Hillary. But this time, I really was voting for President Trump. And like I said, that's something that Republicans have been lacking, in my opinion, over the years, actually directly reaching out to black people.
Because why not? Because just as he said, what have you got to lose? I don't care about anybody's paint job, so to speak. I care about public intent. So why did it take so damn long for a Republican, even though he's not really a Republican, he's certainly not a pull into the tent? How stupid were the prior candidates for not saying, I don't want some of you, I want all that. It go down. Unemployment for black Americans and Hispanics has plummeted under Trump. This is something Biden. And now it's got what everybody calls their local and national white. It takes what they call a white supremacist to make sure that black Americans, there are more employed now. Hispanics, Latinos, more employed now than in the prior 8 years, 2 terms under Obama. That's just, and nobody's going to talk about that. Yet you, Melanie, will be the first taken to task and excoriated like never before for having voted for OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. It's just
anybody who's been on my social media for more than 5 seconds and have seen me talk about politics, you will see a number of family members, other black folks on my page, just completely just tearing me up and being super critical about the fact that I voted for President Trump. I had somebody from high school actually the other day say, you voted for Trump, you always have had your nose in the air and wanted to be a white girl. I have news for you, you're black. Like, what in the world? and I I said to her, I said, well, the fact that I'm black doesn't speak to my political values. And if you think that me being black should automatically speak to my political values, that in and of itself is racist. Now, I think that it went quite over her head. But, you know, I find myself having that conversation with black people all the time. Like, why is it because I'm black that I'm expected to have certain political values? And isn't that in and of itself a racist thing? Like, if white people expected that out of black people, then that would be considered racist. But when black people expect certain things out of black people just because they're black, somehow that's not racist. And I just find that to be amazing. I don't get it.
You have taken historical crap through the years, certainly since 2016. Some stories I'll wager you can't even really tell here, but just in your social media, you take crap every day for being a conservative and a Republican and a black American. It's never ending. In do you see it stopping ever, Melanie?
I don't see it ever stopping, and that's okay. What I find incredible is why it bothers people so much. Like, I'm not bothered by liberals being liberals and living their lives and just being the liberals that they are, but for some reason, my existence, it's like my very existence bothers people. And, you know, the liberal agenda is that they want you, it's not enough for you to say live and let live. They want you to actually change your opinion. They want you to change your opinion on gay marriage. They want you to change your opinion on being pro-life. They want you to change to fit their lifestyle and what they want for you, and religious liberty. You know, they want to try to force you to live under their values, and it's not going to work, and it's not going to stop. I don't think, because I think that this is I think that not to get too deep, but I think that this is a spiritual battle that we're fighting. And so that's why I don't think that it's ever going to change.
I would agree with you in terms of that. Folks, we're talking to Melanie Collette. She has a radio show here on SHR, Money Talk with Melanie. An economist, a teacher, writing a book right now that when you publish, Melanie, I don't want a free copy. I will gladly pay for that book just to read what I'm sure will be ensconced within. Holy moly. So when I get back after the break, which won't be 5 minutes, come back though, I have a bunch of stories, and just to read them pisses me off, because there's a bunch of people, let me be specific, a bunch of white people telling black Americans what and how to think. If you bristle over arrogance, oh, wait until you hear what I've got. Melanie, thanks for being here tonight. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. And video, yes, we are going.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Box. That's the only place that I monitor the chat right now. I'll tell you a little story about Facebook in the second hour and what I'm going to do with Facebook. Welcome tonight to Mike, Simone, Sergeant Booker, Jack, the Alaskan, Leslie, and formerly known as Mamba. Welcome to everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm speaking to Melanie Colette. She has a radio show here on SHR Media, which is why I like to have her here. A conservative, an economist, writing a book, and a teacher. And the book that she's writing is all about those stories, and I bet that's really going to be an interesting book that I can't wait to read, because just like cops until they're retired don't like to tell all their cop stories, teachers don't like to tell all their teacher stories, and doctors don't like to tell all their doctor stories. And it's true pretty much with any profession. I can't wait to have that come out. There's a story, Melanie Colette, from Yahoo. Black men are voting for Trump because of chauvinism, says the former NAACP president. Vote for Donald Trump are doing so because of chauvinism, said former NAACP president Ben Jealous. Oh, and insider's name, I guess, there. Research indicates that more than 87% of black women identify as Demorat, compared to 77% of voters are going to vote for Demorats. Wasn't that kind of kicked out the door this election, number one?
I think it was kicked out the door this election, and I'm proud that so many black people have actually finally taken a look at the Democrat platform and said, wait a minute, what have they actually done? Some black folks, not nearly enough in my opinion, but some black folks have actually stopped to take a look and see what's going on. The Republican platform is one. They'll pull out the chauvinism card, they'll pull out the race identity politics cards in order to bash Republicans. You know, that's their immediate go-to.
Men and women. That discrepancy between black men and women in terms of voting Democrat or Republican. And if so, then why do you suspect there may be a discrepancy between the two sexes?
You know, I hear that there is, and I hear it mostly on social media, that there is this big discrepancy, and that black women are mostly the reason why Biden got elected. I don't know what the reason for that is. I could speculate that it has to do with the number of single mothers we have, that there's a chasm between black women and men. That's unfortunate. That there's a lack of leadership in black families. That is unfortunate, and that has caused a division between black men and black women. But that is purely speculation on my part. But the division is definitely there. There's definitely an unfortunate division between black men and women in the world today, and you'll see them arguing on Facebook all the time about how, you know, black men don't take care of their families, and they don't take care of black women, and all these kind of narratives that cause division between us as a people, between black men and women. And it's a shame. It's very sad to say.
Would that then, Melanie, be a narrative that is some element, some contingency of individuals are purposely attempting to hammer a rift between black men and black women in terms of politics? Could I go so far as to theorize that?
I think you could theorize that. And like everything else, if you take a few steps back and look at the big, giant picture, if you are going to try to get someone to go to your side from a demonic perspective, if you are trying to, if Satan is trying to get somebody to go to their side, what is one of the best ways to do that? Well, it's to cause division. And what's the biggest division that you want to cause? Well, you want to cause divisions in the family. And that's where the biggest division lies, in my opinion, in the black community is the breakup of the family. And that is largely kind of something that is planned, in my opinion, and has a demonic influence. And it serves to divide and separate us from God. So, that not to get too deep, but I think if you look at the big picture, that's what it is. And so, of course, it seeps into everything else, such as politics, and has us separating ourselves politically as well.
Melanie, some people have theorized, and this is again why I like your opinion on this. Some people have theorized that back in, let's see, when was this? I've had Brandon Straka on my show 4 times now. He's the dude that started #WalkAway.
Sure. Yep.
And then there became Blexit, etc. Do you think that walkaway movement had any input whatsoever in terms of black Americans, male or female, deciding, you know what, I'm examining things more closely, and this time around, I'm going to vote for Trump? Do you think he had any influence whatsoever on any of those decisions?
I know. I think that he has had that influence. Amazingly, strangely, not everyone was part of the Blexit movement, but I think that the walkaway movement and the Blexit movement, I think, have played integral roles in having people walk away and exit the Democrat Party. I personally was never a Democrat, but I can certainly relate to people who felt like they had been fooled by Barack Obama. Now, I don't, I've teased people who voted for Barack Obama or who were Democrats before they walked away or did the black exit thing from the Democrat Party. Of course, tease them about, like, how could you ever fall for that in the first place? But understandable. But it's certainly understandable that can happen, and I think that those two movements have definitely played a major role in informing people and educating people on why walking away is a good idea.
There have been people recently who have gone from the evil side, and let me at least buttress this, your indicator that it's about good and evil, that God is involved, that religion is involved. I think this race this time around was a great deal to do with the bottom line of good and evil, and also with the bottom line of saving the soul of America, saving the soul of individuals to try to keep this country free. I submit, as you indicate, that there is a religious context part of all of this that people are finally starting to recognize. Then I'm going to go here as well. I would be so incredibly pissed off if people tried to, well, they do, but if people tried to pigeonhole me because of my melanin count. There have been people that I had not seen coming move over to the Republican or conservative side because it's a massive insult to tell people how you have to think, how you have to act, and specifically how you have to vote. Jason Whitlock is one guy that I can think of. Leo Terrell. I don't know if you're familiar. I'm sure you're familiar with Leo Terrell. I used to watch Hannity just to watch the incredible arguments at 110 decibels between Leo Terrell and Sean Hannity. And now Leo Terrell voted for Trump, got a new hat that says Leo 2.0, a red MAGA hat. This is having a major influence. Here's a cut that I'm going to play for you. This is Jason Whitlock. And it's always white leftists, what I call GOWPs, guilty, overeducated white people. White liberals are threatened by black independence.
Appropriate police accountability and police reform, and those discussions aren't going to end or begin with an appointed position. It's really going to make a difference about people having input, people having discussions, and holding whoever is in that position accountable.
I did reach out to the sheriff's office. I was told Sheriff Joe Hanknick, as always, is committed to a public.
Excuse me while I identify that. Let me go back to my original cut here. Where we go? Okay, this is Jason Whitlock talking about white liberals are threatened by black independence.
I've always looked at the fact that black Americans vote around 90% for the Democratic Party. Yes. Which is weird. I mean, any demographic group voting that much in favor of one party sort of raises questions.
That's Zuby talking to, he's a rapper that I think is from the UK, if I'm not mistaken, talking to Tucker Carlson.
That's one of our favorite rap stars, a man called Zuby, huge in the UK, not well known in this country, kind of like the Beatles in 1962. On this show, a year ago tonight, he came and he expressed his concerns about the changing political atmosphere. He's one of a handful of rappers who have faced backlash for thinking for themselves and defying Democratic Party orthodoxy. Another example is rapper Lil Wayne, who visited the White House yesterday after tweeting out his support for Donald Trump. That did not go over well on the internet. He was attacked on social media pretty aggressively as some kind of sellout, as many others have been before him. Things didn't go better for rap star 50 Cent. He endorsed the president because of his tax policy. He said he didn't want to become 20 Cent. Here's an example of the reaction he got.
You heard about my ex-boyfriend, right? 50 Cent and his support of...
Okay, so here's a white leftist liberal, Chelsea Handler, talking about her ex-boyfriend, 50 Cent, the rapper.
Of Donald Trump.
Yeah, what's going on between you? I saw your tweets and I go, wait, what's happening?
So he doesn't want to pay 62% of taxes because he doesn't want to go from being 50 Cent to 20 Cent. And I had to remind him that he was a black person.
Stop right there. Can you be more insulting than that? I had to remind him he's a black person.
No, I don't think you really can be much more insulting than that. I mean, it reminds me of like slave days, right? Where white women had to. It's like I had to remind him of his place. I had to put him in his place. I had to remind him of his lane, and he needs to stay in it. Like it's ridiculous, and it is highly insulting.
I submit these days that the party of racists really is the Demorat Party. Here's an opinion piece from the Boston Globe. Black people voted for democracy, while Trump supporters chose white supremacy. Later on in the second hour, I'm going to go over what Trump really said at Charlottesville. But apparently, you're a white supremacist, Melanie Colette, because you voted for Trump. That's from a leftist news organization in the year 2020.
I've heard this before. This is not the first time. And I'm like, you do realize that I'm brown, right? Like you do. And when I did a brief sense on Sirius XM on Patriot Tonight, and at one point, one person who apparently had not looked at my picture before she called in and said that I was purely racist, and went on this long diatribe about how racist I am because I'm a supporter of President Trump. And then I had to break it to her that I was actually that I'm actually a brown person, and that therefore not racist.
It's
actually that's not what makes me not racist. The fact that I'm black, but I could not possibly be against black people if I am a black person myself. That doesn't make any sense.
That I quantify leftists and the Demorats and the American media maggots like heroin addicts. I don't think they can't not lie, and I don't think they can't not continue the way they're going right now, because just when they forecast this massive blue wave, just at the beginning of the show, as I indicated, there are 16 new women Republicans in the House, and the Democrats lost positions, and the Republicans gained positions. Here's another old meme that's been going around the internet for a long time. Donald Trump appointed 198 judges in just 4 years. Not one black. Not one black guy. Not even one. Not one black gal. Not one black guy. That's false. 8 federal judges nominated by Trump and confirmed by the Senate were black. But the lies, the hits, they just keep on coming. This is an interesting audio cut from a UFC welterweight dude named Jorge Masvidal. And he's talking about Demorats. But I think the same thing is applicable to any person of color in the United States of America these days. Absolutely. Okay. No audio on that. Here's another story from NPR. Many Latino men are supporting President Trump this election, and that went true. Some of the people in chat even mentioned, especially in Florida, a lot of Cubans voted for voted for Trump this time around. Is this, Melanie Collette, a trend that's going to continue, or do you think this is a one-off?
You know, I am hoping that it's a trend that's going to continue. I fear that it's a runoff because establishment Republicans don't tend to reach out to people of color. I'm hoping that the Republican Party has learned something from Donald Trump and from him reaching out to people of color, and will expand on that and try to expand reaching out to people of color as it has been successful. It's another reason why it just would seem to me that it's impossible that Donald Trump actually lost this election because of the support of people of color that he has, because of the support of African Americans that he has, and it's absolutely crazy that he has the level of support that he has among people of color, and then he somehow lost this election. It's crazy.
It is crazy,
and it defies political logic.
Let me ask you this question. Did it take a non-politician in the form of Donald Trump to actually try to get more people into the Republican tent or the conservative tent? Why? I don't understand. I don't care what color you are. If you're a conservative, I want you on the show. It's as simple as that. Why, Melanie Collette, do you possibly think that prior declared Republicans, clear Republicans, for years and years and years, haven't done what Captain Obvious has said for quite some time? Get more people in the tent. What have you got to lose? That's a perfect phrase. What the hell has been going on with all these people that claim to be Republican, but for whatever reason, they haven't extended the hand to people for votes, and then, like Trump, made good on them?
Well, I've had this discussion with Republican peers of mine in the past before President Trump came along, and the excuse, I want to maybe call it an excuse, but the excuse that I've gotten in the past, which does make sense, is that it's a matter of resources. If you're dealing with a people that 98% of the time vote one way, why would you spend your resources reaching out to them? And so you spend your resources where the votes are. And so that's kind of been the conventional wisdom behind campaigning for Republican votes. You reach out to where the votes are, and the votes are primarily, at least up until this point, have not been in the black community. So why would you reach out to them now? The unfortunate part is that gives Democrats the narrative and hands them low-hanging fruit. They see how racist Republicans are. They don't even want to be bothered with black people. When that's just not true.
Bingo.
Chicken or the egg situation. Yeah.
Bingo. It tends to lend credence to their mantra anyway. Well, they're not going to come over here, and they're not going to have anything to do with you. And historically, they have never, although that's a lie, they've never really wanted to have anything to do with you. That's just a bald-faced lie. That I've said for some time, Republicans have to be loved. They have to be loved. What they don't realize is for a good many Americans, they're already at no. And so what have you got to lose, like Trump said, by extending a hand? You're already hated by a ton of people, but I gotta be loved. Why not extend your hand? You're already at no. Sometimes you get to yes. And Donald Trump is the perfect example. He's getting to yes. I've never understood that. That just makes absolutely no sense to me. Then there's Maxine Waters, who's telling us, and I'm pretty sure this audio cut is going to work, who's telling us that black Trump voters, you are shameful.
Trends across the nation. So back in July, we told you University of Washington researchers had predicted 208.
So bad to see blacks talking about supporting Trump. I don't know why they would be doing it. I don't know what's on their minds. But if we don't turn out this vote and turn it out huge, this man could end up winning again. And this country would go backwards. The divisiveness that this deplorable human being has caused, the confrontation, the dog whistling to the right wing, the white supremacists, the KKK, and they're coming alive. They're emboldened because they've got a leader who wants them to do it. What did he say to the Proud Boys? Stand back and stand ready. Ready for what? Confrontation.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Melanie Collette, in the, past 4 years, add on the past 8 years in the prior occupant of the White House, who has been more divisive?
I think President Barack Obama was one of the most divisive presidents in history. You would think that because we had a black president that would have a unifying force, but all he got in office and all he did was talk about the divisions and woe is me and how horrible it is to be a black person and how racist the United States is. It was really a bad look for him. He blew what was an awesome opportunity to unify the country, in my opinion. I think he was the most divisive president that we've ever had.
It fell in his lap. He could have taken the football and absolutely run with it and decided that he was going to throw various race cards at various times. So let me ask you this. If this isn't the question of 2020, I don't know what is. Is there systemic racism in America?
No. That's a really, I'm on the fence with that question. So I think that there's some systemic racism does exist, but not in the way that it's spoken about traditionally. I think that there is some racism, but it's not built into the system. And I think that, there are black people who are trying to live as if it's 1960, as if we still have, colored and white water fountains, as if we still have our laws that are in effect are not systemically racist anymore, in my opinion. There was a time when we didn't have laws that protected us from systemic racism. But now that we have laws, all we have to do when we do run into racism is fight that based on the law, in my opinion. And I don't understand why people don't seem to understand that. They say, see, there goes that racism again. See, it's systematic. I don't believe that in and of itself that there's that the systematic racism, like I said, exists the way in earnest, the way it used to back in the 1950s and 1960s. Not in 2020. And when, like I said, when racism does rear its ugly head, which it does, I'm not suggesting that racism no longer exists, but is it systemic? I don't know about that. I don't think so. I don't see it in that regard, and I get in a lot of trouble for saying that, but I don't see it. I see racism as a isolated incident, and they happen. You still have people who are very ignorant as to people of color and things like that, and you have to. And when that rears its ugly head, you have to speak to it and crush it like an egg, you know. But in the meantime, am I assuming that white people are after me and that the system is set up to crush me as a black person? No, I don't see that.
Okay, one final question before we go. And again, thank you ever so kindly, Melanie Collette, for staying up so late tonight. It is now 9 p.m. on the left coast. In California, always spell it with a K, which means where you are in New Jersey, it's midnight. Final question for you, Madame, and again, thank you for being here. Candace Owens has decided that she's going to sue Facebook and third-party fact-checkers with a lawsuit. She said, I decided I was not going to give up and sit down. That's brave. We need more people
that, and good for her.
Like her to take a stand. And if there's one thing I would not want to do, especially me at my advanced age, I would not want to sit down and have an argument with Candace Owens, one of the persons who thinks the fastest on their feet possible. But I think this is a trend. I think conservatives are beginning to push back. And again, do you see that
anymore? And good for her for suing. I think that's fantastic. I saw that on Facebook that she's going to sue them, and I think that's a great idea. I think the fact checkers are absolute crap, and they're like babysitters. I went to share an article the other day, and it said, this article is 8 months old, and then I went to share a comment about that Congressman Van Drew, who happens to be my congressman, had posted on this Facebook page, and I went to share that, and it sent me a message that said, make sure this information about the election is accurate. And it's like it's Orwell all over again. Big Brother is definitely watching all the time. It's ridiculous.
It
is.
is.
And they need to be sued. They need to be sued to get back in their lane. If they're going to have a free platform like they claim that they do, they need to leave us alone and just let the people operate it.
That's an issue for next hour. Thank you ever so kindly for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I'd love to have you back. And when you publish that book, let me know. I want to have you back, and I want to buy a copy of it because, oh boy, I bet you're going to dish.
I definitely am. Thank you so much for having me, BC. I appreciate it.
Thank you ever so kindly. Get some sleep, madam. Thank you for staying up so late.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to get some shut-eye.
All right. Good night and God bless, ma'am.
Yep, bless you. Bye-bye.
Melanie Collette, going Betty bye. I thank her kindly for being here in the first hour. When I come back, some happy stories. Do you think we're lost? Do you think we're beaten? Do you think we're being beaten into submission? Oh no, not at all. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website, www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Colette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense Elite Radio Show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EDL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we are back. I am one of the worst self-promoters that I can possibly think of. All along, I should have been telling you, hit share on Facebook, hit share on YouTube, hit share on Spreaker. Didn't even think about it. So, somebody slap me. Somebody remind me, BZ, do your promotional duty, dude. Speaking of promotional duty, dude, one each. This will be the second to last broadcast that you will hear on Facebook. I've taken enough crap off of Facebook, and I ain't taking it no more. So a couple of things have changed. Jeremy Hansen and I have been speaking quite frequently and closely over the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to be joining his campaign to rev things up a bit in the conservative world, because I think, though some people are attempting to make it out to a significant loss, conservatives and Republicans have not lost. The fat lady hasn't sung. There are still some days to go. And I'm done, as I've said, being conciliatory, and I'm done with bipartisanship, and I'm done with compromise, because the compromise and the bipartisanship historically has always had to be by the Republicans and no one else. So I'm broadcasting Facebook tomorrow night, one last time. I may be transferring over to Periscope for a while. I'm still going to try to see if I can stream on Megabook. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to keep YouTube. YouTube seems to be a pretty significant and consistent streamer. I don't know if I may be examining BitChute, but with all the suppression that's going on at Facebook, with all of my friends and myself and anybody else, I'm going to keep my Facebook accounts active, if for no other reason than to use them in my own way. Still to keep contact with some people, and perhaps even to use them as promos. But for any more of me posting stories or anything like that, politically or otherwise, I'm done with Facebook. So I'm just going to use them for promotional purposes. I'm not going to put the show on them anymore. I'm not going to give them the opportunity to kill this show. I am the captain of my soul. I am the master of my fate. Not them, not social media. So myself and Jeremy Hansen have been getting together and deciding that we're going to continue to create some kind of a consortium where whenever he discovers what platform he's going to use, myself, he and I will be on that platform streaming. Don't quite know what it's going to look like yet. We're still talking about that. But Jeremy Hansen has a fabulous show And he's done all the analytics. His shows have garnered 10,000, 15,000, 50,000. He says up to 1 million hits on some shows. And social media is throttling him, and they are throttling me. Now, politically, I know how Twitter works. I'm still going to be politically active on Twitter. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I'm not asking. I've been suspended for 12 hours on Twitter. I understood. I'm going to be operating within their strictures. I know what I did, and now I know how I have to craft my words so that I can beat the Al Gore isms of that. So I'm going to continue to have a presence on Twitter. I am already on Parler. I find Parler to be unwieldy, clunky, non-intuitive. I don't get a lot of Parler. The way they format things, the way that they have you craft new posts, it's not the thing that I want to go to yet. I'd love to have I can't think of the guy's name, John Falk or something like that, who created Parler. I'd love to have him on the show because I'd love to give him a piece of my mind. And what I mean by that is, dude, you could rule the social media universe if you just made Parler more friendly. Format it better. Format it differently. Do something about that damn app. If you've ever used the Parler app, it's a little frustrating. So I am over on Codias. I am over on MeWe.com. I'm on Gab. Gab, I can use Gab all day long. Kind of like Gab. Let's see. I am on Spreely. Snippy. I was on Snippy for a while. Snippy just died. It's like my pet turtle. Well, I had a pet turtle named Snippy. That sucker died. Yeah, he died. Like Mamba says, Facebook is a joke. And I hope, someday before he leaves, because what has he got to lose, that President Trump kicks Twitter to the curb and goes, I don't know. People have said you ought to go to Parler. I don't care where he goes. Just anywhere but Facebook and Twitter. And I guarantee you, he would strip millions of people from Twitter or any other social media overnight. I would so love to see that be done. I would so love to see that. Because right now, as we all know, with social media and with the Demorats, leftists, and the American media maggots, it's all about retribution and revenge. And they've made no bones about it, as I said on Jeremy Hansen's show today. Jack Alexander, I stopped using Spreely. The guy running it is a crock. Well, I don't really follow Spreely anyway. I signed up for a ton of stuff. My understanding is that there's still a ton more conservative stuff to sign up for. I'm just going to wait and see how things shake out. But I do know one thing: my days of broadcasting and streaming on Facebook, they're done. I'm not going to give Facebook the opportunity to kill me. I'm going to kill them before they kill me. And in the meantime, I'm still going to use them because it's free. I have to also ask you guys this. Do you think that there's enough umbrage in D.C., maybe also even on the Demorat side, where some people are going to look at Section 230 and decide that, oh, you know what? I don't think that social media is just a platform. I believe they're a publisher and an editor, and as such, not subject and not warranted of all the immunities that we provide under Section 230. Frankly, I think that's coming. But there's punishment coming from the leftists, and they've said so quite clearly. There's retribution coming by the leftists, and there is revenge coming. There are Truth and Reconciliation Commissions coming. That's what they used for, apartheid in South Africa. So essentially, just by doing that, people are saying that, America is just like South Africa in terms of apartheid right now. And to that I reply, are you kidding me? But that's how these people think. That's exactly how they think. While I'm still thinking, why not think about this?
The bloviating Zeppelins HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
And this is where I get it, HeyJackass.com. HeyJackass.com. Illustrating Chicago values. November to date. Shot and killed, 21. Shot and wounded, 98. Total shot, 119. Total homicides, 22. Week in progress, November 9th to November 14th. Shot and killed, 7. Shot and wounded, 28. Total shot, 35. Total homicides, 7. Year to date, oh my. Shot and killed, 633. Shot and wounded, 3,053. Total shot, only 3,686. Total homicides for Chicago as of this date, 695. So the Chicago crime clock now is this. A person is shot every 2 minutes and 3 seconds in the city of Chicago. Thanks, Lori Lightfoot. And a person is murdered every 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Thanks, Lori Lightfoot. Appreciate it. Now, I said this on Ken McClinton's show on Monday night. I spoke to Jeremy Hansen. I was on his show earlier this afternoon. And I want to point this out to you. Do not be glum. Do not be upset. The fat lady hasn't sang. The fat guy is talking to you right now. But the fat lady has not injected herself into the finality of it all. As I indicated on Jeremy Hansen's show, I'm going to Real Clear Politics. And historically, it has been a fairly even playing field in terms of statistics. So let's just look. For 2020 and president, right now we have 259 Biden-Harris, 214 electors Trump-Pence. Oh, the thing just updated too. This is, and I'll get to a happy story in just a moment, but I want to glance overall at the big scheme of things. In the Senate right now, Republicans are up 49 to 48. I'll tell you why in just a moment. The House, the Senate, leftists were crowing that they're going to take the House back. They're going to kick our ass in a massive tsunami. It didn't occur. And they also said that specifically in the House, they were going to kill us. They were going to kill the conservatives, kill the Republicans, and take it back and just add leftist after leftist after leftist in the House right now. As opposed to the 116th Congress, now Republicans are up 6 seats. So it's 204 to 218. Now, I mentioned in the first hour, 16 GOP women have taken races. And of those races, the 13 GOP women, 6 of them were taken from Demorats. That's a wonderful thing. So hold your horses. We're not falling apart. The leftists and the Demorats, as I said on Jeremy's show, right now, they're shitting kittens. They don't know how or why this happened to them. The other positive thing is that in terms of 2020 governors, there are 27 Republican governors, 23 Democrat governors, 1 loss on the side of the Demorats, plus 1 on the Republican side. And we're not done. I'm telling you, don't get discouraged. We're not done. There's more to come. Now, either Thursday night, depending on if I get this all done, there's going to be an SHR special report on voter fraud, and I'm going to let you know that there is example after example after example after example that I'm going to portray to you with video, with audio, with articles. And I've noticed immediately, as I indicated on Jeremy Hansen's show, the leftist Demorats in the American media maggots have already changed their verbal tune. They went from, there is no voter fraud. Voter fraud doesn't. They now changed it to, there is no widespread voter fraud. And I think they're not that incredibly far from having that theory, well, basically pounded up their ass.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And here's one of the reasons right now. Tillis wins North Carolina Senate race after Cunningham concedes. All the Demorats in North Carolina were sure that Cunningham was going to kick Tom Tillis's butt. He won a second term in North Carolina. Cal Cunningham conceded defeat today. That's a happy story. And when I tell you this, I'm not kidding, folks. There's more to come. There is more to come. This is a role. Jeremy and I both decided that I finally convinced him of this. I've said it for some time. He is done with bipartisanship and compromise. And he held out hope. I didn't hold out any hope because I know of the nature of people like this. And again, I compare them to heroin addicts because it's true. I've seen it for so long. Also, a happy story. Kevin McCarthy. Pelosi won't have the votes to retain the House Speaker post. Kevin McCarthy, who oddly enough comes from California, always spell it with a K, back on Sunday, he said that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, he doesn't believe that on the floor she's going to have enough votes to create a coalition to keep her in the speakership in January. So he was on Sunday Morning Futures, I think, and he said, they said in the House Republicans would lose 15 to 20 seats. Every pollster said that. That's another thing that was proven. The pollsters all lied their asses off to you in 2016, and they lied their asses off to you in 2020, to the point where I think the pollsters now are part and parcel of the creation of election interference. They're part of the problem, not the answer. So McCarthy said Republicans were forecast to lose 15 to 20 seats. Every pollster said that. Pelosi and Steny Hoyer. They also said that we, meaning the Republicans, are going to lose the Senate and the House as well. So what happened? McCarthy said, we didn't lose one incumbent. We won every seat except one open. We won 28 of the 29 most competitive seats. We didn't lose the Senate. We're up one in the Senate. We didn't lose one control of any legislature. Actually, Republicans gained 3 new legislatures, and we've had the most competitive presidential race in our modern history. Now, here's why. I don't know, maybe this is inside baseball. But I'm a political animal, and you wouldn't be here unless you were too. Hey, huh? Yeah, you bet. 23 seats were open in 2020 on the Republican side. Half that, 12, were open. 2022, that's basically going to be the reverse. And just when all the leftists and the LDAM, leftist Demorats and American media maggots were crowing about, oh, you've got so many empty seats that we're going to snatch from your ass, and they didn't. The Demorats are going to be basically in the same position come 2022. 2022, though it sounds nuts to say it right now, 2022 is going to get here faster than you think. If for no other reason than everybody within the sound of my voice wants the stupid fucking 2020 to end. You know that's the truth. So, in terms of happy stories, I think that's true. Demorats are quantifying their situation right now. They're pointing fingers at everybody. They're pointing fingers at Pelosi. They're pointing fingers at their leadership, air quotes, leadership. And they're calling it a dumpster fire. There's infighting, incredible amounts. Finger pointing in the House of Representatives. The majority suffered what I can only indicate is a clear defeat, a stunning defeat all across the country on Election Day. Run the numbers and you'll see what I'm saying. Then there's this happy story that no one is reporting. No one is reporting. So that's why you come here to listen to this from me. The chair of the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, dropped some kind of a really important announcement. The top boss of all the election officials, Trey Traynor, confirmed that in his professional opinion, this election is illegitimate. He serves as the chairman of the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, and he is convinced that from what he's seen in Pennsylvania and the reports that he's getting from elsewhere across the country, that this election is illegitimate. Folks, just getting people to see and recognize that aspect is a huge plus for us. Also, another happy story. This is from the Washington Examiner. Centrist Demorat Tim Ryan is concerned about his party. He says, our brand is not good. It certainly does sting. He says there's a certain kind of a letdown that you feel when you lose your home county, even in an election that you win. That's being said all around the world. Now, if you didn't hear it, I'm going to play for you now. I might go over the break a little bit. 4 minutes of this cut that you need. There's a representative in the House, a Demorat from Virginia. Her name is Abigail Spanberger. And she lit up the Demorats on a conference call. And essentially what she did is, you could say she criticized, she lanced Demorat strategy during a caucus call, saying basically the election was a failure for House Demorats. Now, we see it from one way. As conservatives and Republicans, they're seeing this in an entirely separate way, and they don't want this information to get out to you. Now, let's see if I can get this to play. I got about 2 minutes. I might play about 2 minutes of it, take a break, and come right back. This was just delicious. I hope it plays, please. If there's an audio techno, here we go.
It's only human to see what.
Okay, now they're going to play an ad for me. All right, it's going to end in 9 seconds. When we come back from this ad, Representative Abigail Spanberger basically lanced the Demorat party in a conference call. So this audio, they took out some profanity and whatnot.
When Hakeem said that we should keep it in the family, what I understood that to mean is that we shouldn't be leaking this to the press. And Manu Raju and Jake Sherman are currently live tweeting the call. So I'd like to begin by being explicitly clear. What I'm about to say, I ask that my colleagues not relay to them. If someone has just conferenced in Manu Raju or Jake Sherman, gentlemen, this is off the record.
Okay, you understand? She doesn't want you to know. The Demorats don't want you to know what they're about to tell you.
I think that we need to be pretty clear about the fact that Tuesday, from a congressional me recognizing that we lost members who shouldn't have lost.
We lost members from Hillary districts. We lost members that shouldn't have been lost. Well, that's coming directly from Captain Obvious, wouldn't you say? Folks, I'm going to be back right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Wave with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right, we're back. So please, join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. This is the final 27 now, the final 27 minutes of the show. An hour and a half have whipped by. By the way, hoorah, happy 245th birthday to the United States Marines. Serving well and proud for 245 years. Thank you for doing so. If you served in the Marines, God bless you, and thank you for your service. When I say thank you for your service, some people are insulted by that. I don't mean it as an insult. What I mean at the very bottom line is this. If you're in the military, absent everything else, where you're assigned, what you've done, if you have decided that you're going into the military and that you're going to serve in the military, if for no other reason you deserve acknowledgement for the courage and the discipline and the sacrifice that it takes for doing so. 'Cause vacations, gone. Good conditions, nice environment, gone. Sacrifice, you gotta step up. You're going to be working the bad days. You're going to be working the bad shifts. You might not go to bed, like I didn't when I was in homicide for 3 days straight. That's expected of you when you're in the military, when you're in law enforcement and other services and emergency responders. You're expected to suck it up, Buttercup. So when I say thank you for your service, I mean at the bottom line, no matter what you did in the service, I thank you for being the kind of an individual that service requires from the very beginning. I'm going to continue playing the conference call of the Demorat caucus. Representative Abigail Spanberger, a Demorat from Virginia, had the temerity to criticize her party's strategy during that caucus call, and we're going to continue with that.
I would request that at some point in the future as a caucus, we spend time watching the attack ads, the millions upon millions of dollars that were spent shellacking so many of us across our districts, that we look at the things that they say about us.
She's admitting many of them took an actual shellacking.
That they say about the Democrats, that they say about the way we talk to people and the way we talk about things. Because whether we think it's just an attack ad and that's what it does, et cetera, it doesn't matter because it works. The number one concern
Listen.
That I barely rewon was defunding the police. And I've heard from colleagues who have said, oh, it's the language of the street. We should respect that. We're in Congress. We are professionals. We are supposed to talk about things in the way where we mean what we're talking about.
Bingo.
If we don't mean we should defund the police, we shouldn't say that. And so when there are millions upon millions of SR members and people in our communities are concerned, we need to recognize that that is on us. Trump is on the ballot. Trump was always going to be a challenge to overcome being on the ballot with him. But he's not going to go away after this election, even when Joe Biden wins.
Bingo.
And we need to get back to the basics that brought us across the finish line in 2018, because he was there at that time as well. And for the people who flipped districts that he had won, and certainly for those who won in Hillary's districts, we did it by being hyper. We want to talk about funding social services and ensuring good engagement in community policing. Let's talk about what we are for. And we need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again.
And we need to not use the word socialist or socialism ever again. Do you think that it's possible for AOC or Bernie Sanders to not do that? And the answer is fuck no.
Because while people think it doesn't matter, it does matter.
It
and
does.
We lost good members because of that. And my background, I know you all know it, coming from CIA, the first thing you do is always do an after action. And you dig into everything you did right and everything you did wrong. And if we are classifying Tuesday as a success from a congressional standpoint, we will get torn apart in 2022.
She said we're going to get fucking torn apart in 2022. That's the happy story. You and I both know that there's no damn way that the Demorats, even despite that phone call in the caucus, are going to suddenly wake up one morning, I don't know, you choose the morning and go, oh, look, the rays of sunshine are upon me and now I understand what we need to do. No, they're going to double down on what they're doing. Just like locking down in a pandemic, that doesn't work. That has never worked. Biden's gonna do it again. Europe is doing it again. That is the literal definition of insanity, doing the same damn thing over and over again and expecting that somehow this time it's going to work better. Well, hell, you could say that about communism and socialism.
And excuse the profanity. That's the reality. And I would hope that moving forward, we will not just work to hold the majority, but we will actually work to communicate to the American people that our policies are what is good.
Right.
Our policies are what work for them,
right.
And our policies are what's going to move this country forward. There needs to be far more strategy in how we convey that, and we need to watch every single attack ad and recognize the weaknesses that people saw and the way they exploited them in order to knock out quite a few good members. So thank you for the time. For those who choose to go back on the record with Jay Sherman and Manu Raju, I welcome you to do that. But thank you everyone else for respecting that I asked that this not be live tweeted out.
Okay, so what happened after that? What do you possibly think was Speaker Pelosi's reaction to that? Because she heard it. You can be guaranteed that she heard that. Her first reaction was, well, that's false. That's absolutely false. Here's some audio from somebody you haven't heard for a while. You know what? I haven't done this for a while. I've got some audio up in queue from Megyn Kelly. Now, perhaps some of you people are thinking, well, what makes you think that Megyn Kelly is worth listening to anymore? She's going to pull basically a Spanberger on us that I find kind of interesting. But in the meantime, because I haven't done this for quite some time, this is the newest article from townhall.com by my good friend Kurt Schlichter, who I'm going to have back in the saloon in the not too terribly distant future. It's called In the Fight. And this is a summary of what I'm saying. Folks, don't give up. We're not dead. We're not even moribund, not by a long shot. Don't give up. We must persevere. 2022 is right around the corner. And just as Jeremy and I agreed, bipartisanship, cooperation, compromise is dead. There's only one way to get ahead, and you got to play the same game, or this country goes down the drain. Our national soul goes down the drain. Individual souls go down the drain. And I'm going to throw a religious aspect on that as well. It's a fight of good and evil. And if you don't think that's true, then you don't need to be listening to me right now. This is the article from Kurt Schlichter in The Fight. First, let me start out by reminding the goose-stepping list makers of the left that my last name contains 2 H's. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it was me who supported President Donald John Trump, and not some other guy. Same for me. I voted for Trump, and I'm damn proud of it. I write this, Kurt Schlichter says, in Las Vegas, where I answered Rick Grinnell's call to come out and help with the Nevada post-election chaos. I'm not going to talk about specifics here, but I've seen individual and systemic irregularities that are sometimes shocking. The idea that we're supposed to just shrug and accept this fiasco and go on as if there was nothing wrong with this election is a sure way to guarantee that these same issues are going to arise again and again and again. And maybe that's the plan. Well, actually, not maybe. That is the plan. And trying to shame us into acquiescing is part of the plan. They spent 4 years insisting that President Trump's election was illegitimate. And now they're feigning shock when we react to the election they think gets the results they prefer with the same kind of disgust we would experience seeing Jeffrey Toobin's browser history. Reject the gaslighting. This election wasn't normal. It was not regular. It was not worthy of your blind deference. Is it some sort of coincidence that all the problems arose in big urban centers in swing states run exclusively by Demorats? That they flooded the electorate with uncontrolled ballots? That they just stopped counting on election night, often with President Trump ahead? That they just kept counting until Biden was allegedly ahead? Texas could do it right in one night. Florida could do it too. The swing states? Nah, not so much. How come every iffy thing we saw inevitably benefited Biden? Why was that? The weirdly anomalous results, major down-ballot GOP. This is the point. God, thanks, Kurt Schlichter. You reminded me of this. We conservatives, Republicans, we killed the down ballot. Major down ballot GOP pickups, but an alleged razor-thin Biden win only makes the whole thing less explicable. Regardless, our repudiation of Botox Nancy does show that our movement remains powerful. We might be down, but we're not out. Thank you. Exactly. I expect that there's going to be more legal wrangling to come over these irregularities, and there should be. We have a right to an election system where we can trust that we have counted every legal vote and no others. Can you say we did in 2020? I can't. And anyone who does is playing you. But these shenanigans, they're okay with the establishment. They'll tell you that they're shocked that anyone might have any questions. On the Demorat side, we're supposed to believe the same people who created the Russian hoax, who framed General Flynn, and who accused Justice Kavanaugh of being a team rapist would suddenly draw some sort of line at engaging in electoral shenanigans. Imagine that. The fact is the Demorats did everything they could to ensure that's exactly what happened. And the media, even some that was supposed to have our back, Fox News, insisted we just defer to the protestations of regularity. Defer this. And also some on our side let out sighs of relief, hoping that we can move back to business as usual with those irritating Trump voters just gone. Our movement has always been about disrupting the comfortable arrangements that let the powerful prosper at the expense of the rest of us. But it's also been about resisting the malicious attacks on our tradition and values by jerks posing as our moral superiors. some of them are Republicans, as I've said. And they wish we would just shut up, keep paying taxes, fighting their dumb wars, and voting as directed, except we are not gone. We're still here, and now we're really mad. It's not until 2022 that we can take out our rage on the Demorats, but the Republicans who heard duty call and let it go to voicemail, they're going to be hearing from us now. Ditto our alleged allies in the media. We know when we're being gaslighted, and we're done with it. All you Poles who were AWOL in this fight, we can't wait to vote against you in the primaries. By the way, any of you see any of the Bushes out there fighting for us the way we fought for them in 2000? Yeah, me neither. I saw Obama out there. George W., Jeb? Nah. Admittedly, their support of Trump would have made some of us less supportive of Trump, but they could have sent a message to the softs that were out there that Republicans needed to come home and rally around this president like we rallied around W, but they didn't. We had their backs, and they stabbed ours. Oh, and thanks, Mitt, for being very youist when you could be. When we could have used your whiny support in challenging these irregularities, you did exactly what we would expect, and you sold us out. I want my vote back, Kurt Schlichter says. I sure as hell want mine back. I've watched firsthand some people really stand and fight. Rick Grinnell has been a superstar. Adam Laxalt of Nevada has never wavered. Matt Schlapp, who runs CPAC, has been firing on all cylinders. Others elsewhere have been there too. There's one theme: protect the process and count every legal vote. And this is where the fight is, here, now. And win or lose, we have to fight it, or this planned chaos will become the norm. We can't let that happen. Kurt Schlichter writes, this is our country. We can't give it up. And I'm not giving up. And I hope you're not giving up either. Now, we all know that Megyn Kelly had her kerfuffle with Trump. And here's Megyn Kelly making a unique point about unity. And any major Demorat that you have seen recently, Michelle Obama, AOC, you name it, have all essentially said, well, we need the unity now. We need everybody over here with us. Joe Biden, we need everybody with us. We are going to unify everyone, and we'll be representatives for all the people. Bullshit. Unmitigated bullshit. Don't believe it. Don't buy it. It's not happening.
Real problem. Number one, the Democrats don't want unity. Maybe some in the center left do, but AOC and the squad, no.
Nope.
The political left on Twitter, no. Biden's got real unity problems right in Democrat Central, and without cleaning that up, there's no point in calling for brotherhood. And what about the Trump supporters? They're not game for the group hug either. For 4 years, they have been called the dregs of society. It wasn't enough to go after Trump. Anyone who supported him was labeled a racist, xenophobic, transphobic bigot. Now that Biden's won, those 71 million Republican voters are supposed to simply choose healing. And all that stuff the left said about them being absolutely awful, well, forget about that. Forget about all of this.
Racism.
Yep.
Trump relied on a coalition, and a core part of that coalition.
Trump is a product of the white man's, the anguished, nervous white guy's lizard brain.
Those people who are supporting what he's doing here are racist, period.
If you hold down the woman while the rapist is raping her, and you
these people are. They are unhinged, they are insane, and they're not going to wake up one morning and just all of a sudden magically get better.
They are racist, and it is our job as citizens to speak out against that. Now,
speak out Hell, they want you dead.
Does that mean that we're going to be violent? No. But does that mean that Sarah Sanders can have a...
No, the answer is yes. Does that mean we're going to be violent? And the answer is yes. God, I wish somebody had... Bernie Sanders will at least tell you all day long he's a socialist. I appreciate honesty and clarity.
Nice, quiet dinner with her family when she's taking our tax dollars to implement this policy? I don't think so.
You cannot come into this White House with the idea that these people aren't the enemy. They are.
This president has radical...
You, me, not them, you, me. We are the enemy if you voted for Trump, if you supported Trump, if you bought a hat, if you said the word, if you had a Trump hat in the background of your kids' Skype or anything like doing school. You are evil.
So many more people than ISIS ever did.
If you vote for Trump, then you, the voter, you, not Donald Trump, are standing at the border like Nazis going, you here, you here.
We all know now.
Nazis. That's all these shit sticks got. Nazis.
That he's a racist.
They wouldn't know a Nazi. They know nothing about history. They're not interested in history. That's why I said for a long time, and it's true, they possess historical Alzheimer's. They don't want to know about history.
He's a disgusting racist. Anybody who still supports this guy needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves if they are racist also.
I sleep like a fucking baby at night.
Ask yourself why the left would even want to unite with such people. Nazis, they said, racists and bigots and supporters of evil. And as it turns out, the targets of those smears don't appear to me to be in a mood to suddenly kiss and make up.
Yeah.
But let's just say we embrace the sunny rhetoric for right now, okay? We have a kumbaya moment in which everyone gets a lifetime pass on the awful things they did and said during Trump. Both sides. Then what? How unified are we really going to be if Biden does indeed try to pack the Supreme Court? If Democrats try to defund the police in your neighborhood? What about when critical race theory classes are mandated again in federal agencies, as Biden promises they will be, and white people are told to shut up and listen to how...
I can tell you for a fact that is already happening in California. Always spell it with a K. I know people that have been told to sit on boards, whether they like it or not, and listen to the excoriation of white people for 8 hours.
How they are all white supremacists by nature of their pigmentation. Or how about when one turns on the Oscars or the Emmys or ESPN or CNN or sends a kid to college and hears messages of how Republicans are still, even under Joe Biden, bigots, racists, and misogynists, because they don't want...
Do you think, gotta ask you this, do you think, as I said, leftists and Demorats and the American media maggots will all of a sudden wake up one morning and go, you know, those people who voted for Trump, yeah, I get them now. I do. We need to be inclusive. We need to bring them into the group. Really?
Race shaming, or to have to say their pronouns, or because they believe abortion is murder. Or when they find out that their job application has been blackballed because they supported Trump. That's turning into a thing.
Stop right there. I don't know if I told you this on Tuesday, but this is where it's going now. God, I wish I knew what email company this was. It's here. I don't have the ability to research it right now. Brandon Strzok, the creator of the #walkaway movement, got told by an email company that he's not welcome because of his political convictions. It's an email company. All they do is ship your email digitally from your computer to someplace else. That's where it's going. And it's going to get worse. Absolutely.
Is now demanding an archive of Trump sycophants for when they downplay their complicity. Find out that their job application has been blackballed because they supported Trump.
Listen to this. all the people are saying that we, you and me, we need to be labeled. We need to be put in a pile over here. Our basket of deplorables, but they want to name names, and they want to know who you are, your social, your address, your phone number, where you work. You think that's not coming?
That's turning into a thing. AOC is now demanding an archive of Trump sycophants for when they downplay their complicity. What could possibly go wrong with a member of the House majority keeping a list of Trump supporters we need to get? Michael Simon, an ex-Obama Biden guy, has just started the Trump Accountability Project, which he calls a permanent record. Permanent record, people.
Yes.
Of every Trump staffer, appointee, and donor, quoting now, and even his endorsers and enablers.
Okay, stop. That includes me. You know, when you contribute money to somebody, you have to put your name in there. And I've contributed over the years, and just in the past couple of months, multiple hundreds of dollars towards the Republican Party. And I don't give it to the RNC. I target it to specific individuals and races. I don't send shit to the RNC. I target my cash. But to do that, I have to give an address and put my name. And guess what? That's all discoverable. And if you think the point of that isn't to go into those records and then dox you, oh, you'd better think again.
What does that mean? Well, Pete Buttigieg's campaign manager warned that employers thinking of hiring Trump staff need to know, quote, there are consequences for hiring anyone who helped Trump.
Yep.
Washington Post columnist Jennifer Rubin tweeted, quote, any Republican now promoting rejection of an election or making baseless allegations of fraud should never serve in
baseless. Who determines that? They do.
Office, join a corporate board, have a faculty position, or be accepted into polite society. We have a list. End quote. Got it? No more jobs or polite society. The Washington Post, old democracy dies in darkness, is watching you.
No, I said of the Washington Post, democracy dies in D.C.
All of you. Or at least those who want to investigate voter fraud. You got it? But it's damn time to unite and heal.
Yeah.
And anyone who says no is a crybaby.
Yeah.
Look, it has gotten ugly on both sides these past 4 years. And the truth is, some wounds take a while to heal. Some are beyond repair. And sometimes, understandably, there's no interest in healing. I don't know if we're there, but I don't feel hopeful about unity. I feel hopeful about us, about reasonable people's ability to conduct themselves with dignity and kindness most of the time, and to love our families and enjoy our friendships, and not unfairly demonize anyone who doesn't think like we do. I think most of the country is still not that political, and that most folks don't get too agitated by one election or another. So that's hopeful. Whatever happens, we're still living in the United States of America, the greatest country on earth, where, at least for now, you are technically free to hold your own opinion, to think what you want and say what you want, to live as you want. And if people continue to try to erode these freedoms, you are free to fight back if you want. Maybe unity isn't the thing at all right now. Maybe liberty's the thing, the goal, for now. And maybe that's just fine. Here's the real problem.
That from the individual who absolutely despised Donald John Trump. But finally, after this amount of time, maybe the clouds are beginning to part. No guarantee. But as I emphasize, and I will continue to emphasize this until the day I cack, and if folks listening don't like it, go somewhere else. I'm not making a cent on any of this. None of it. I don't have to declare a thing. Not a thing. This costs me money. I've spent multiple thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. I owe nobody. Except I owe my country, who gave me freedom and liberty. I owe the United States of America.
Monsieur has unlocked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here from the SHR Media, the sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent SHR Media Studios. You want to contact me? Not going to be on Facebook too much longer. Certainly this show will not. I'm very active politically on Twitter at BZEP at BZEP. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Corporation and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also by Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust. You can trust. Tiaras are by My Little Pony.
They'll be happy to know.
Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than 1 hour. Take that to the bank. Thanks to Melanie Collette for being here in the first hour. Thanks to everybody for listening live. Thanks to everybody for listening in podcast. Thanks to everybody for being in chat. After Thursday night, after Thursday night, no more Facebook. Good night, God bless. Take care.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.